So is it time to rise above adversity and literally lean into the extraordinary life that you were meant to create? If that's the case, today's interview is going to be for you. I have Allan Blain here. Powerful, powerful story. And if you're an entrepreneur, if you're a leader, you have probably been faced with some adversity. And there's a lot of power in that adversity that on the other end could actually not only be your superpower, but it actually can help you make a bigger impact in the world. And Allan is definitely somebody through his story you're going to hear today that has leaned into that. And actually, he now helps other entrepreneurs and people who are struggling with adversity to get through to the other side. So Allan and I recently connected at the Dad Edge. He gave a really powerful presentation. I'm like, Allan, I need to get you on my podcast. And then we were live. I could feel his energy. I'm like, I need to spend more time with this man. The Dad Edge is all about becoming a better father, a better husband, a better business owner, better as best as you possibly can, right? Getting to the next level of growth. And I was like, this is the person I need to spend more time with. So Allan, welcome to the show. Let me give you a quick introduction of who Allan is, and then we'll jump right in. So Allan is a highly esteemed entrepreneur. He's a best-selling author. Life's Hard, Succeed Anyway. Very powerful book. He's an international speaker, globally ranked podcast host. I was just on his show. By the way, you should definitely hit up his show. It was a great show. He's a life and business coach with a mission to help ordinary people rise above their adversity and seize the extraordinary lives they were created for. At age 43, he changed careers. It's going to be a really awesome story here. He changed careers after being an owner and CEO of a residential company or construction company producing over $40 million in annual revenue. Allan realized he needed to pursue a career that would impact people's lives even more. And that's why he leaned into coaching, and I cannot wait to hear about his amazing story here today. So Allan, after all that, I feel like I have to read the entire book with all of your accolades. Welcome to the show.
Mark, it is a pleasure to be here with you today, sir. I'm pumped for this conversation.
Me too. Okay, so let's start here. This is usually where I like to start. By the way, this is the first time we've ever done an interview, or not ever done, that we've done an interview in a while, because I've been really making sure that I only bring the most top-notch people in front of my audience here, because I really respect their time and their energy. So why I'm bringing Allan on here is because he's one of those people that I want to be able to spend more time with. I am going to be having more interviews here, but you're going to see they're all going to be at the caliber of Allan, because you're going to hear his story, how not only life-changing it's been, but also his energy. It's just something that's super contagious, and I know everybody here is going to get a lot. But one of the things that I always like to ask people is sort of like, I want you to brag a little bit, Allan, all right? I know it's kind of hard to actually brag, but I want you to lean into the brag muscle, and I want you to kind of like describe, like, why should people listen to you today? What are some things that you have gone through that literally gave you the opportunity to be on this stage today?
First of all, thank you. I can't believe you're even talking about my energy. I feel like my energy is like 10% of your energy, Mark. I feel like I'm half asleep being around you. So thank you for yours. It's awesome. Brag. That I really have a little bit of a difficult time doing that, but I'm going to do my best since you asked. I have had by God's grace, I've had a ton of success in business. I've had a lot of little diverse experience in my past. I mean, like you, Mark, I was a police officer for not 20 years, but 6 years, and then got out of that and got in the construction industry and, was building homes, residential homes up until 2008 when the market tanked, and was having a significant amount of success up to that point, but actually was able to pivot in 2008, the end of 2008, and start doing something a little different, thinking outside the box in the construction industry, and got into buying, going to auctions and buying homes and rehabbing them and flipping them, and to the tune of about 20 homes a month. And, a couple 200 plus homes a year we were flipping. And that's where we ended up coming up with $40 million in annual revenue, making the 7 figure, annual income, and have gone through a lot of experiences in a fairly relatively compressed amount of time in my middle age years. Did not make the right choices many times, have some epic failures, have some things I think most people would be highly embarrassed to even talk about. I'm ashamed to this day, even when I write them in my book or speak them on a podcast like this, although I'm happy to do so, put everything in my book. But because I've made a lot of mistakes along the way and I've had a lot of adversity, like you said, I've learned some things, some very basic things, some very simple things, some things that I just never thought of before, some things nobody ever taught me that allowed me to to have the level of success that I have today. And although my life's not perfect, and although I still have adversity,
Hmm.
I am dealing with challenges. I'm blessed to say I've got a life, I've got a career I love. I have an amazing wife of 31 years now at age 51. We're both 51. We got married at 20,
That's awesome.
blessed with 6 children, all boys except for 5 of them. We're a girl household. I have great health. I have a life that I believe I was designed and created to live, and the future is very, very bright, Mark.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I know you talked about like some of those different adversities. Is there one in particular that you talk about most often? Because like I know that when it comes through adversity, some of them just feel heavier when not only when we're going through them, but on the other end. Like if you could share one of those and maybe some of the strategies that you use to help yourself get through that, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I don't know that it's one in particular. It was, when my children were younger, I mean, it started with things like having a 9-year-old hospitalized for seizures, uncontrollable
Mm,
seizures we couldn't get figured out. And it seemed like just when we got on the backside of that, our 14-year-old daughter was diagnosed with cancer. And just when we got on the backside of that, it was the next thing and the next thing and the next thing, and many other challenges along the way. But I think the biggest challenge that I face, bigger than losing loved ones, and ending up with a DUI as a former police officer, waking up in jail, a 7-figure income earner, and going, "What in the heck happened to me? How did I get here? How did my life get to this point?"
mhm,
I think the biggest challenge I faced was lacking a vision for my life.
mm,
Lacking a vision for my life. And I had a vision early on in my police officer years. My vision was what I would call a very small, simple vision. And I would even add, for me personally, a very selfish, self-centered, just a self-centered vision. And what I mean by that is my vision was simply to do my 30-year career and to fish my life away in some little unknown town in northeastern California, and not really impacting anybody's life, not serving anybody at any significant level. And it was just all about me, my, and mine. And through a turn of events, when I got into construction and started building homes and having monetary success, I still never really had a vision that had changed from that old vision of just surviving, really just
mhm.
retiring and surviving. And so I think that if I could boil it down to one challenge, I think that's it, because all the other challenges became significant in my life because I didn't really know where I was going, why I was going there, and who I was going there with. So I guess lack of vision is my short answer for the biggest challenge I've faced to date.
Oh, that is an aha moment for sure. Yeah, because if you don't know where you're going, like all the trouble that you're struggling through, right, and the process there, it just feels like something else that's keeping you down. But it's crazy because you don't know where you're at, right? Like a GPS, you need two coordinates: where you are and where you want to get, and then it helps you to wiggle it over there. But if you don't know what that is, this is the reason why, like on your podcast right now, you were like, "Oh man, Mark, a lot of your story is very similar." I'm like, yes, that like sounds just like what I was experiencing. So let me ask you this, because you said it was that lack of vision. What actually came in to help you find what that vision is? And how did you know? Because people ask this, how do you know it's the right vision or where you really want to go?
Yeah, such a great question. And like your story, I had a mentor in my life that came along and saw me struggling. This was during a season, and just to kind of give a little more context to the story, this is during a season where, again, I'm having a lot of success in business. This was 2013, 2014. It was about an year and a half, 2-year period where I had just lost a brother and a business partner, younger
Mhm.
brother, to suicide. I had lost a younger sister, also to suicide. I had my mother in a deep, deep depression after my father had just left her for another woman. All this was compressed within a couple-year period. And I had to negotiate the settlement between my father and my mother because my mother was not basically bedridden. And so, and there was a lot of other circumstances surrounding that. So even though I was having a lot of professional success, I was in a deep, deep, dark place. And this friend and mentor came along, and he could see I wasn't living my best life. He could see, even though nobody else could see. I say nobody, majority of everybody around us would have looked at our life. And that's why I say, do not judge other people and think you know where they're at. We don't know who's on their knees at night praying for a solution to whatever they may be facing. But on the outside, it looked great. I have a beautiful wife. As I mentioned, 6 children. I had money. I had a great ranch, property, cars, the things. Had my health, but I was hurting. So he came along and he did what your mentor you shared on my podcast did for you and asked great questions. The greatest gift he could have given me was being a listening ear, showing that he cared, coming alongside and caring to ask good questions. And it was those questions, Mark, that got me to really start for the first time in my life at age 42, 43, right in there, start asking myself, why am I doing what I'm doing? Like occupationally wise, like, why am I doing this? Why did I start doing it? Why am I still doing it? What's the purpose? And those kind of questions led me to doing what I do today and making a 180-degree pivot career-wise. And I'm so grateful for him coming alongside and doing that for me.
I love it. I love it. Love it. Two quick questions that kind of came up. So what gave you the wherewithal to be open to even like listening to those questions and to like following down that path? Because I don't know about you, but for me in the police career, like we're typically not one to share those kind of things with people that we're usually like in our squad car. We're not talking about those kind of conversations because we would just completely change it if it started to go down that path. But what made you become so open to it that you were willing to not only answer that, but to like stand up to his challenge that he was giving you?
Yeah, well, the answer to the first question, or first part of your question is I was desperate. I woke up in a jail cell. I mean, I had gone years I drank when I was younger and through college and even my younger married years, some. And then I'd given up all alcohol for years. And then during this stormy season of this 2 or 3 year period, I had picked up alcohol again and thought it wasn't a problem. I mean, still running a very successful business, as you mentioned, and all the things. But when I woke up with a DUI and literally woke up in a jail cell, I realized I had a big problem and I knew I was hurting inside and I didn't really know a way to fix it as far as getting up every day and knowing, hey, I'm excited about what I'm doing. I'm excited about where I live. I'm excited about the lives I'm impacting because I didn't have any of those things. And so I was desperate. I was literally desperate for something to change in my life. And I didn't really know what the solution was because I wasn't super excited about just walking away from a great business that we had built. And I didn't know where to turn from there. So I guess that was the first part of the question. I was desperate enough to listen to the questions and answer them for myself. What was the second part that you asked me?
Actually, I didn't ask it. I was gonna ask it next. But like not only how did you come across him to even be able to have that conversation, right? I mean, you said you just woke up. You're like, oh, what am I doing with my life, right? Like, how did he present himself to you, basically?
So in my particular case, this is a friend of mine who had been a close friend for at that time, I guess about 15 years. So we had been very close friends. I mean, my closest friend, I would say, or definitely one of my top 2 or 3 closest friends. So he knew me. He knew my life. He knew he could see, I think he could see the struggles I was having, even though just the struggle with passion, the struggle with, just probably, I've never asked him this, but I would imagine he was close enough to me that he could see, hey, Allan's just kind of going through motions here. He's not pumped up to wake up each day and live life and go to work and do the thing that he's doing most of his waking hours. So that we had that friendship going on. And Is that what you want to know? Like, what was the relationship there between the two of
Yeah.
us? A 15-year friend.
And then all of a sudden he just comes out and starts kind of challenging you and asking you these questions and open your eyes up to things.
Yeah, he just started asking questions. Yeah, he's really good. Like you, Mark, he's really intuitive and connected and connecting with people and asking the right questions. He's just a master at it. I've seen him do it with other people. He's awesome. And that's why he's one of my best friends. And that's
Right.
why you're such a great friend, Mark, to have in someone's life, or a coach, or whatever, however someone could get time with you. But yeah, he just knew the right questions to ask, and he knew, because he saw what was going on in my life. I would say it's as simple as that.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And I know, I'm sure you've given some accolades and acknowledge and appreciation for him for being willing to do that. Usually after 15 years, people get kind of like a little nervous about, what if I ask the wrong questions, or what if I bring something up and I challenge this and it like ruins our relationship? But he was willing to lean in. So I love that.
Yeah.
But also, like, the person who is the receiver, the person who's being asked the questions, also has to be open to it. So I'm curious, like, when it comes to like you just exploring this, like, not only these questions, but really like exploring your vision, like, what was it that got you to be willing to make that adjustment to your career, to, where you were having success? What was the catalyst that kind of like flipped that?
Yeah, well, I think he asked me a lot of good questions, but one of the questions, Josh was his name, is his
Mm,
name. One of the questions Josh asked me was, if and when you're at the end of your life,
mm,
and figuratively speaking, you're sitting on the rocking chair and the sun is setting on your life. If it goes down this way, right? And you're
mhm,
thinking back over your life, like, what would have to happen for you to feel like your life was a success? Like, that was a question that he asked me. One of many, but one that's one that I'll never forget.
mm,
What is it that you want said about you? What kind of legacy that you want, you want to make? And the more I started thinking about those questions, I started realizing the legacy I want to leave is not how great of a fisherman I was in my golden years or whatever. The legacy I wanted to leave was not a bunch of money to my family, although that's fine too, to do that. The legacy wasn't really leaving anything to anybody. It's what I left in people. I
mm,
realized the legacy I want to leave is what I leave in others, in my wife, in my children, in those that my life touched. And then I started thinking, because of other questions he asked me, like, you know, we talked about like the Matthew 25. For anyone that's familiar with the Matthew 25 in the Bible, there's a parable of the talents. And there's three different people that the master gave three different amounts of talent to. One
mhm,
got one got two, one got five. And a couple of these guys did really good investing what they had and doubled it. And one of the three guys didn't do anything with it. He buried it. And just thinking about my life, my talents, I realize I can look at a lot of other people and compare myself to other people, Mark, as any of us can do, and go, well, I'm not that great at this. I don't speak as good as Mark, or I'm not as good looking as so-and-so, or I'm not as tall as whoever, whatever the things are. But the bottom line is, I realize in all these conversations and questions, I have been given a unique set, and every one of your listeners has been given a unique set of gifts, talents, abilities, and even opportunities. Just the fact to live, for anyone on hearing, and I can speak for myself. I've been to a lot of other countries, but living here in America, what an
mhm,
opportunity. Like, we have been given these opportunities. It's like, what are we going to do with them? Allan, more importantly, what are you going to do with them? And are you
mhm,
being a good steward of your gifts, talents, abilities, and opportunities? And are you investing those well into people? Or where else do I want to invest them? I want to invest them into people.
mhm,
And I realized, to a very small degree, I was doing some of that, but not at the scale that I wanted to, when I'm sitting on my rocking chair and the
mhm,
sun is setting and I'm at the end of my life, which is, by the way, Mark, is 120. It's the age is going to be 120.
mm.
I can't say it's going to be, because I know God has my days numbered, and today may be the last day. And I'm okay
Right.
with that,
Yeah.
actually. But I'm planning my life for 120. I'm eating, I'm drinking, I'm investing my money, I'm investing my talents like I'm going to live to 120, because
Mhm,
why not?
mhm,
Um, but anyway, when I get to that and I'm on the rocking chair, I want to be able to look back and go, you know what? I did. I'm pleased that I did the best of my ability, invested my gifts, talents, and abilities, and made a legacy that was left in other people. And so it was those questions that led me to that answer that allowed me to see what the next step needed to be, and continues to guide me to this day. I still think through that lens, like daily. What am I going to do today? That's going to be, how am I going to be, investing my gifts, talents, abilities, and opportunities today to leave a little more legacy inside at least one other person today.
That is awesome. That is awesome. Awesome. It's kind of like a beginning with the end in mind, right?
Right.
Going all the way to the end and then reverse engineering it. Like I remember in the Dad Edge, one of the first things they had us do is we had to write our eulogy, which was kind of weird, right? But coming from like picturing what my son and what my daughter would be saying about me, I'm like, there's some things I'd like to change before this actually happens. And it really gives you that power back when you begin with the end in mind. So I kind of want to hear, Allan, like, what happened after that spark of vision happened? And was your wife on board? Is she like, what are we doing here? Like, I love to hear like how that kind of like worked out.
Yeah. So, I'll jump to the second part. Yeah, she was on board, and then I'll go back to the plan. She was on board. What I didn't say is during the last 9 or so years leading up to 2015, we by choice chose to live in a little small town in Northeast Washington State. And I had a 1,200-mile commute every week to Central California. Wow. And that's where my company was headquartered. And that's where I flew to every Monday morning. I'd leave my house at 3:30 a.m. and I would come home late, like in the middle of the night on Thursday. And then I still worked when I was home, but I was home 3 days. And so it was like that for years. So when I didn't come home that Thursday because I was in a jail cell, yeah, she was ready for something to change. As much as I was ready for something to change. So that's second. But what I, through the questioning and the introspect thoughts that I had, questions that I even asked myself, and I realized people. And so I made 180-degree and made vision business on the side. Okay, in the network marketing space, with marketing nutritional supplements with a company that at that time in 2015, we'd been already using their products for 15 years, and we'd seen benefits, exceptional benefits, families. It was a business development, leadership, training, and coaching. It checked all the boxes. It had the opportunity for financial freedom and geographic freedom. We desired to leave the West Coast. We knew that could give us the opportunity to do that. So we start this thing on the side in March of 2015. I remember the date, actually, March 18th, 2015. Mm-hmm. And by the following year, summer of 2016, we had built it to, not replacing my 7-figure income or anything, but it was a 6-figure passive income. And at that point, Mark, we were able to pay our bills. A family of 8 with very little debt, just a small mortgage, in fact, is all we had. Like, we can survive on this. And look at the trajectory and look at the impact and look how I'm excited to wake up every day and go help people. And the same thing that I know I can tell drives you, Mark, to get up and, get to impact people's lives and coaching and training and helping them. And so, and for me, I would say, and getting to do it with my bride of 31 years now, I'm like, does it get any better than this? Mm-hmm. I'm out. And people always ask, well, why didn't you sell your company? Why didn't you do this, that, or the other? I'm not exactly sure why, but I walked into my business, my 3 partners, my younger brother and my 2 younger cousins, and I gave away my 0.25% interest in this $40 million company that was turning a $3-4 million a year profit, by the way, still doing great. And I just walked away to come home full time in 2016 to get to do what I do with my wife, Nicole. And we've been doing this for the last 7 years, and it has been nothing short of amazing, not only in other people's lives and the growth I've seen in them, in their leadership, in their, all kinds of areas. You talked about losing 100 pounds. I know on my podcast, and your health. I mean, you're shredded, you're fit, you're healthy. Getting to see that, first up close and personal in other people's lives, but also when I look in the mirror, I'm not even the same person today, Mark, I was 8 years ago when we started this, and neither is my wife. And I love that. I absolutely love that. People go, you're shy and introverted and all this. I'm like, oh, absolutely. By nature, yeah, I'm an introvert by birth. I'm an extrovert by choice and training.
Mm-hmm.
And I
Mm-hmm.
love that. So that's
I
what we
love
do.
that. I love that. I love that. And I'm also an extrovert in training, so I'm with you. I'm with you on the introvert thing. And multi-level marketing was also like kind of like my stepping stone. I know we kind of talked about it a little bit on your podcast as well, but that is incredible. Now, I just want to like, first off, I want to acknowledge and appreciate you for being willing to step away from a place where you were making a substantial income, but it wasn't allowing you to show up how you really wanted to show up in your life. And you decided that that was more important than the money,
100%.
which I don't really know of many humans who would be willing to do that. So let me just say, like, hats off to you for being the type of leader who's willing to do that, not only for you, but for your family and really for the world, right? Now, I do want to kind of go to this, and that is like, when you made this transition, I could see it in your energy already. How did you get to now show up for your wife, for your family, for yourself? How did it translate into other areas of your life outside of business?
Well, as I mentioned, I was shy. Great question, by the way. I was shy, introverted. Yes, I was running a, fairly successful company. I mean, a very successful company, small business, um, and having a lot of success there. But I was not a great communicator, and not that I'm some great communicator today or great speaker. I don't claim to be. But what you see today on this YouTube video, or if you can hear me on some other podcast platform, is nowhere at 51 years old, is night and day from the Allan of 43. And so what it's done for me, Mark, is it's allowed me to, I mean, we don't even have time for me to lay out all the things, but just some highlights that come to mind. I'm able to communicate better. And when I say communicate, really, I'm able to listen better. I'm able to listen. I've learned to listen. I've learned to ask questions. I've learned to empathize. I'm not an empathetic person by nature. I don't know. Maybe a lot of us police officers weren't by nature. I don't know if it has anything to do with their occupation, or if us unempathetic people were drawn to that kind of occupation. In either case, I wasn't. But I am so much more of all those things now. And so that affects my marriage. Our marriage today, 31 years later, outperforms honestly any other marriage I'm aware of. And it was not that case. It was not that way 10 years ago. It was not that way. By God's grace, I've got an amazing wife that hung in there with me. But it is amazing now. My children, we've gone through some really difficult times. One of my children, my son, our only son, went through a 1-year-long adult and teen challenge recovery program, Christian recovery program, and just graduated a month or two ago and is doing amazing. I've got a 29-year-old daughter, our firstborn, who's still living on the streets, strung out on the streets of LA somewhere in North Hollywood. And so those older children, they paid the price for me not being present like I am now. They paid the price for me not having the empathy, the leadership skills, the listening skills, the communication skills, a lot of the things that our occupation today has taught us or has forced us to learn, maybe said a different way. So my life is radically different as a result of the occupation that we do today and the business that we have. And I mean, it's just amazing. I mean, getting to work from home with my wife. I mean, some people may not want to do that. I understand. I can't imagine anything better. I mean, Nicole told me early on when I came home, she said, this is amazing. She goes, I see why so many people have affairs at work. She goes, we spend a lot more time together, and it builds connection. I said, yeah, it does. It's pretty exciting, isn't it? She's like, yeah, it's been amazing. So my life really is radically different from what it was 8 years ago.
I love it. I love it. It is all your hard work and willingness to like stare yourself in the mirror, ask those questions, have a friend to like challenge you. I love all of that. And I also get to work at home with my wife, and I'm like, I get paid to do this. Wait, do I really get paid to do that? It is awesome. I do want to go down a couple paths though, because you were talking about like not only skills, but really being great at listening, right? I think that like the best leaders aren't the best speakers. They're actually the best listeners, right? And they can really do a good job of reflecting back what they're hearing and really connecting with people, right? But I'm just curious, like if there was one or two skills that you think that like have been the biggest game changer for you, what would those skills be?
Ooh. Everything for me comes back to mindset. So I don't know. You feel free to take me a different direction because I can get outside of mindset. But for me, just that's where my mind goes because it's everything. I was not a positive guy. I was a skeptical person.
Mm-hmm.
I would look for the negative in people. I would see the problem in the situation. And again, I don't know. I always blamed it on the fact that I was a police officer. I just don't know if that's a good excuse any more than you blaming 100 pounds of extra weight on being big boned, like you
Yep.
shared on my podcast years ago, right? Going way back in time before you lost the weight and made a choice to change your mindset. But that's it. I mean, positivity was the first thing that came to mind. It's like now I am choosing to see the best in people. I am choosing to see the glass half full. And number one, it is exceedingly more enjoyable to live life like that. Exceedingly. So if anyone's listened to this and they're an old Allan, like I used to be, and you think it's a healthy thing to protect yourself from what someone may do or a situation that may happen. Yes, we need to look for problems in investments and we need to poke holes in the boat when it comes to business ideas. There's a time and a place for those things. But generally speaking, in people and situations, seeing the glass half full and seeing the best in people is by far a much happier way to live, a more rewarding way to live, and it's just a more successful way to live. I don't know a successful person. I literally don't know a successful person. And let me just define the successful person. Successful in their marriage, successful in someone who's relationally rich, someone who's wealthy, like all the things, right? Spiritually successful and physically fit and all these things, physically fit, that sees negative, that is not a positive person. I just don't know that person. I see a lot of unsuccessful people that are negative. So I think that's the first and biggest thing that I'm still working on, by the way, Mark. I mean, it's just a daily thing for me to easily want to slip into negativity and see problems in situations. But man, choosing to see the positive is a game changer in every aspect of life.
Yeah, I love that. I love it. I mean, even kind of like you were saying there a minute ago, where it's like, I think it's because it's been ingrained in us, because literally we would go solve people's problems and we'd have to look for the potential things that could hurt us and harm us, right? But I also feel like that is a mindset that can get trapped in here, thinking that you can't do anything different, right? And you're living proof that you can. If you're willing to challenge this, if you're willing to go, yeah, but there's also a positive to here, right? Instead of my brain being focused on what's broken, wrong, or missing, I'm going to focus on the potential for the future. Like, what is this going to be possible that's not possible right now, right? So I really do love that. Now, I know that you do help people through this. Go ahead.
I've got two more that I can add just quickly.
Let's do
more
it.
Practical things. Okay.
Yeah.
As I was thinking and you were talking, one is gratitude. I mean, game changer, giving gratitude to people, looking for reasons to thank somebody for their character, like not even just doing something, like who they are. And I try every day to shoot off a few texts and think through like, what's something I can be grateful for this person for, man, Mark, I'm just so grateful for your energy in my life. I mean, something so simple like that, verbally, if we're in face to face with them, on the phone, text, however, but that's been huge. And I think that again, nearly all successful people I know are really good at being grateful for things and other people. And the last thing and there's many more, but the other thing that's really helped me is asking good questions. Asking questions. It's helped me in my parenting. It's helped me in my marriage. It's helped me in my business. And I challenge all the listeners to take the time to ask questions of people. It builds connection. It builds rapport. I mean, when's the last time you meet somebody or you spent time with somebody and they sat down and just said, hey, what do you do? Why do you do it? Like, what do you love best about it? What do you love least about it? What's most challenging about it? Oh, where do you live? Why do you live there? Like, I mean, I don't mean interrogating someone, because you could slip into making someone feel like they're being interrogating, but genuinely just caring to get to know people. Game changer. I would have never, again, I kept using the word selfish earlier. I would have just been too selfish and self-centered and caught up in my own life and world to slow down enough to ask questions of people to really get to know them. And what I found is when I'm doing that, I'm building strong relationships with people, and people want to do business with people that they know, like, and trust. So even in the business context, to be a real human and to really care for people and ask questions, what I hear is needs. And then when I hear needs, I can offer solutions. Wow, sounds like you could benefit from a life coach. You need to get connected with my buddy, Mark Hildebrand, or whoever, right? Whatever the need is. If I know a solution, now I can offer it to them. So that's just a whole nother paradigm shift for me, to just ask questions, get to know people, see how you can solve their problems, or point them, better yet, to somebody who can.
I love that. I love that. Is that something that has come naturally to you when it comes to, like, not only asking great questions, but connecting people? Is that something that you had to work on?
Not at all. In fact, not that many years ago, like 10, 15 years ago, I looked at even like networking in general as this negative thing. It's kind of embarrassing to say this, but this is the truth. I looked at it as people who are into networking are just selfish and self-centered, and they're trying to connect with all these people to see what they can get out of it.
Right.
Not so. I'm not saying there's not people like that. But what I've learned now is the more people I've met, like yourself, Mark, and many, many others, it makes me want to meet more people, because the more people I meet, and not just meet because I met them, get to know them. What are they? By asking questions. What do you do? Why do you do it? What's your passion? What excites you? What are you excited about the future for? Oh, what excites you about the future? Then I get to know this person. It's like, okay, boom, there's another tool in my tool bag to help somebody else, connect them with somebody else. So no, I haven't always been like that. It's only been the last, 10 years or so. And it's a blast.
Yeah, I had to ask that question because so many people always ask me, like, oh, you've always been like that. And I'm like, please, if you were to rewind and like see what I was not like this at all, right? A lot of people tend to think that it's like something that's inherently born in you. And you're like, no, you can just develop the skill.
Right.
I want to ask you a question in a minute, like how you actually help people through adversity and through things that they're struggling with, especially when it comes to like business and life. But two things that you brought up. Number one is gratitude. Gratitude is one of those things where sometimes people think in that word pops up and they're like, gratitude. It's kind of like journaling or like, oh my God. But the power of gratitude is crazy. How you will manifest and put stuff out into the world, and it will come back to you. Every day, I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for. And if I write down something about my wife, Teresa, which is like almost every day, it has to be something different than yesterday. I can't be thankful for the same thing twice. It's amazing. Sometimes she walks downstairs in like at 4 a.m. I'm just smiling at her and she's like, why are you looking at me like that, creeper? I'm like, I was just writing down some things I was thankful for. But it's like really being thankful for those things. But also when you're going through a difficult situation, I always ask myself, what part of that situation am I thankful for? Right? Even if it's a difficult conversation or relationship, I'm like, but what part of this am I thankful for? Right? It's kind of the whole analogy. Like my daughter likes to push back against me when it comes to like certain things I ask her to do. Right? But then I'm like, well, actually, when she grows up, that means that nobody's going to be taking advantage of her. I kind of like this idea. Maybe not as her dad, but I love it on the flip side, right? When I know that she's not going to. And so there's like ways that you can ask yourself, like, but what am I thankful for? Which is a game changer. And then you start finding more things to be thankful for, right? They're there all the time. Right. I'm sure you like remember this, like back as a police officer, they're like, hey, a stolen blue Toyota Camry. And then we would see blue Toyota Camrys everywhere. We'd be like, oh, there's one right there and right there and right there. And they were there all the time. It's just we weren't focused on it. But when you're focused on gratitude, you're like, there's one. There's something to be grateful for. And it was there all the time, but you would never been able to notice it because you hadn't put in your brain to look for those things, right? So I definitely love that. And then you know I love questions. Like questions is my thing. It's my thing, not only to really connect me with my family, but also to like help people find out their own solutions based off of their strengths, what they like. Like, I like to think of this as like, I'm the expert, but the person is the authority, meaning they get to see from their perspective, they get to decide what actions to take and what actions not to take. I'm just really good at asking questions, but I'm not going to tell you everything that you need to do because I don't want you to be handcuffed. I want you to find your solutions, and you're really great at doing that too. That being said, how do you help some of your clients? What are some things that you do to kind of like help them? How does your process work? Because I'm sure there's some people on here that are probably going to want to reach out to you because they might be going through some adversity right now. So how does that normally work?
That's a great question. It's funny that you mentioned about the particular vehicle. I've used that analogy so much. The first time it happened, we bought a 15 passenger van as a family. We only had 6 children. I say only. I mean, we didn't fill up a 15 passenger van, but we wanted extra room. I had never even noticed a 15 passenger van on the road until I bought one, and then I see them everywhere. It's very interesting what you focus on. You start seeing everywhere. And also, before I answer that question, I'll just one more thing about gratitude is, I think that so many people are being held back from their better future by their past, and the solution to change their future is to change their past. And people listening might be going, what? How can you change your past? You can't change your past. Well, you can't change what's happened in your past, but you can change how you view your past. And to look back at that adversity, the challenges, the hardships, the trials, whatever you want to call them, and to be able to find something to be grateful for, because there is not anything, even the ugliest, most embarrassing things of my past that I did, that I created. And many challenges we don't create. They're just things that happen to us. But even the ones that I created, even in those, I can look and choose to be grateful for something, even if there's always a lesson to learn that I can be grateful for. And the other thing I can always find in every challenge to be grateful for is I have an experience now. I wish I wouldn't have gone through, but I did. And now I can help somebody else and encourage them in their time of need. And I'm more relatable with them now. I mean, if I was I don't know what percentage of people have earned $1 million a year, but you know what? I'm pretty relatable. I've been a drunk. I've had a DUI. I've made some. I've been on welfare. I've not that many years ago. 17 years ago, I was fired from a job, and I didn't tell that story. And I'm like, I've got nothing, no job, no income, single income, and I'm sitting here with, I think at the time, 5 children. I mean, I've had a lot of things happen to me, and I've done a lot of things to be very relatable, unfortunately. But to answer your question, how to help people, I come back to questions, Mark. There's not some cookie cutter answer I can say how I can help people other than asking questions, because I don't really know what everybody needs. I don't really know what anybody needs until we're able to ask some questions. And questions are always the answer. And I know you're a master at this. In fact, you did a phenomenal job. I feel like I'm having a little deja vu here, because this is this is essentially similarly what you shared on my podcast that you're so good at but I'm asking questions. And here's what I've learned. I'm listening for where is the need? Where is the need in the words the person is saying as I'm asking questions? Because so many times people, they have a need, but they don't always know what it is. If we knew what it is, we could go half the time, go find the solution. More than finding the solution is uncovering what is the problem? What is the real problem? We think, oh, this is the problem. Well, maybe that's the problem. I mean, it's a problem, but what's the underlying problem? And just peeling the onion, if figuratively speaking, we want to peel the onion, and we do that with questions to get down to what is the root of what you really want, and what's holding you back from what you really want to be doing, saying, living, whatever. And now we can start talking about, okay, what's it going to take to go from where you are to where you want to be? And that's a whole nother conversation. But to just start jumping into solutions when there may not even, we don't even know the real true need is a big problem. I think we do it on our own, and sometimes we do it for other people, and it doesn't always end well.
First off, that was a gift. Thank you for that gift. That was incredible. Talking about even when it comes to the relationship to your past, right? In being able to reframe that, but also the power of not only asking people questions, but not being like the dictator in their life of what they need to do, right? One of the things you talked about at the end is I don't know why, but a lot of us want to just be told what to do. But if it was that easy, we could just do a Google search and we would have all of our answers.
Yeah, or ChatGPT.
Exactly. We could just type it into ChatGPT and it would tell us everything we need to do and we'd be set.
Right.
But we have this thing called the brain. right? And that brain can do some pretty crazy stuff. And like you said, you have to get to the root of the problem. I like to think of it as like you're trying to fix a broken arm with a Band-Aid. If you're just like thinking about things, you're just trying to get to the actions of what to do, right? But instead, we got to get to like that thing that's really deep inside, which sometimes I know for me, I wasn't willing in the beginning to like look at. But it's when I really, truly did want to change where I was willing to look at that and go, oh, wow, so that's why I'm doing this, and not taking it personal, not beating myself up with it, but using it as information so that I can do something else entirely different. That was a total game changer. And it sounds like it's been the same exact thing for you. Allan, I could talk to you for like 3 hours, and maybe we will have another 3-hour conversation after this. But I appreciate you so much for being here. Can you tell our listeners where they can connect with you? I know you have an incredible book. Like where would you like to send them if they want some more details about you, how to work with you, everything?
Mark, thank you so much. I appreciate you asking that. And anyone can go, probably the best place to go is my website, and I'll give it to you and then I'll spell it for you just because it's a unique spelling, but it's allanblain.com. And Allan is spelled different than most people spell it. It's ALLAN and then Blain, BLAIN with no E.com. And there, there's a page on there for my podcast. There's a page on there for my book.
I think I lost you. I think I lost your audio. You still there? All right, guys, I will definitely put it all in the show notes. AllanBlain.com. I put it up in the comments over here, and I will definitely pop into the show notes. Definitely give his podcast a listen. Check out his book, extremely powerful. Allan, I know maybe your audio isn't working, but I just want to say how much I appreciate you for coming on, sharing all of this wisdom with with our viewers today and also on our podcast. And then just saying, thank you so much for being the leader that like we need now more than ever, right? I know we talked about this on your podcast, but literally it's not the easy times that prove that we're the leader that people need. It's the hard times. And to say that you've been through some hard times and you've come out on the other end, and as a result, you are literally modeling the behavior for all of those beautiful girls that you have now under your.
Thank you.
Yes. It is such a powerful thing to have a leader like you, not only as a father, but I'm sure as a husband, and just the world being able to share all of your experiences with them. Thank you for being vulnerable and sharing those things. I know it's going to make a huge impact. It's already made a huge impact. I know it's going to make a huge impact on my audience. So I appreciate you so much.
Mark, I appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for having me on the show. It's been an absolute pleasure. Sorry about losing the audio. I don't know what happened to my microphone, but this has been a blast.
No worries, no worries. Okay, everybody, appreciate you for making it to the end of another episode. You have any questions for Allan, you can type them in the comments. I'll be sure and get them to him. Otherwise, look him up at allanblain.com. Listen to his podcast, get his book, Life Hard, Succeed Anyway. Appreciate you, Allan. You guys have an incredible week, and we'll see you guys next week. All right, bye, everybody.
Thank you.